Leaders, real life leaders.
Hey guys, welcome to today's episode. And today we're with Wendy Myers of MyersDetox.com. And today our title is Why I Picked Up, Moved to Mexico, and How I Can Work from Anywhere in the World. Wendy is not playing by anyone else's rules. She's not limiting herself. And you are going to be inspired today. So Wendy, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about what made you decide to kind of pick up, sell everything, move to Mexico.
Yeah, well, you know what? I was living in Huntington Beach, California, when the whole pandemic kind of started. And I was reading about it in December, and I thought, this is coming here. It's already here. Just based on what I was reading that, 100 million people had been locked down in China. I thought, wow, that's really serious. And so I started furiously researching it, writing content about it, and one of the first people in the health space to, be writing about it. And so, and I knew the lockdown was coming. I knew that the food shortages were coming, and I was warning my tribe about that. And so, and then in March we locked down, and I was there. I complied for a couple of months, and I thought, I don't have to live like this. I didn't know how long it was going to go on. It didn't look good. My daughter at the end of 2 months was saying that she wanted to kill herself after being inside for 2 months and not seeing any other children. And I thought, F this, I am not doing this. So I moved to Texas, where my mom has a 200-acre ranch. And I felt like I'd feel really secure there, and they have a room full of guns and, grow their own food. And I thought that sounds really good to me, and being close to family, and, my cousin's children are there. And the minute I moved to Texas, it opened up, and it was great. And my daughter was going to daycare and interacting with other children. But then I decided that, I wanted to move to Mexico. I'd always wanted to live abroad. There was still a lot of uncertainty in Mexico. There was just still a lot of uncertainty at that time about me, worried about there being mandatory vaccinations. And I will never receive a vaccination. I had that stance even before this came out. I just personally believe this vaccine, it's untested. It's experimental, and I just will not put that in my body. I have a very healthy immune system, and I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with what God gave me, and certainly my daughter has been vaccine injured, and that, that was a whole very stressful thing. My daughter didn't speak until she was about 2.5. And I got her in a special school, and the school was, $4,000 a month. It cost the same as Harvard to go to this school to help bring out her language. It was a school for autistic children in Los Angeles. And so not revisiting that again for me or my family. Thank God my daughter is fine now. But I just have researched vaccines for the past 10 years, and I will not put one in my body or my child's, knowing what I know now. And I certainly won't put an untested vaccine in my body, and I won't have someone telling me what choice I can or can't make with my own body. So for me, I decided to move to Mexico, and went through the whole process to get a residency visa. And now that I'm here, I have a permanent residency in Mexico. And I'm here, look at my background here. It's gorgeous. I'm in Playa del Carmen. I'm an hour south of Cancun, and I'm in this beautiful jungle. I have amazing animals running through my yard every day. I have thousands of birds that visit my yard, every month. And I'm 5-minute walk from the most pristine, clear ocean, 78 degrees, clear water. And I have a lot of friends here. I actually have 4 girlfriends that actually, one lived here and 2 followed me and decided to move here also. So I already have tons of friends, and there's a lot of very spiritual, health conscious kind of, independent thinkers here. And my daughter is going to a normal school. There are no masks. She's going to a Waldorf school, which is a wonderful school. They have, fractions around the world. And we're all super happy and living our lives. And I feel like the nightmare that is the pandemic is kind of not our reality here.
So tell us you've told us some of the pros, and now I want to hear some of the cons, because obviously everything has pros, everything has cons. What are some of the things that you're like, this was a hard adjustment for me, this area was tough, or whatever?
It was a little stressful, like getting here, because it's not easy. I decided to buy a truck, and I had to buy a truck and an Airstream to put all of our things in, and then drive. And we had to have a residency visa to cross the border, because only residents can cross the border and drive into Mexico. And so it was stressful. For sure, doing that, getting an appointment at the consulate, and there are all these paperwork that they need, but it wasn't really that hard. But the driving, it was, stressful for my husband. I didn't do the drive, but he did. That was stressful. We had to pay some bribes here and there, because carrying all this crazy, health biohacking equipment. They're like, what is this? It's medical equipment. You have to pay taxes on that, a tax. And then here, I really, the only thing that I don't like is it's really tough to get organic food. So that has been kind of not fun, but there are resources. It took me I found a delivery place for grass-fed animal proteins and cheese, and I found a farm that has organic produce, and they deliver a box once a week. So it's here. It's just not really in the grocery store so much, but I have found a couple of places that have organic food. That's really been the main thing, the main adjustment. Other than that, everything's been great.
So let's talk about how you kind of made the decision, like, I can run my business from anywhere. So why stay in the United States? Like, walk us through that thought process of what you were thinking.
Yeah, you know what? It's like I don't have an office that I go to. We have a fulfillment center in Los Angeles, but we're moving our company to Texas and our warehouse to Texas. But all of our employees and contractors, we have people in the Philippines, we have people in Canada, we have people in the United States. And so I'm like, I can be anywhere. I don't have to be in Los Angeles or the surrounding area. I don't need to be in Texas where my family is. I can be anywhere and work anywhere. And so why am I not doing that? I've loved traveling. I've always wanted to live abroad, and I can do this now. And frankly, I have a much better lifestyle. I have a much better quality of life here in Mexico. The house I'm living in, I could never afford this in Los Angeles. This house would be, 5 times the amount of money in Los Angeles, if not more. And so I have a wonderful quality of life, and my daughter's going to a private school. Again, it's 5 times less the cost of private school in Los Angeles. And so and the food's cheap, and it's just a lot of things. Some things are crazy expensive, like electricity and gas, but whatever. But we have a much better quality of life. And I thought, well, why not? And now I've also decided that every summer I'm going to go somewhere and live abroad, to experience another culture. Like this summer, I'm going to Bali. I'm going to spend my whole summer in Bali, and my daughter's going to go to her father's. And I'm just really fortunate. I'm able to live. I've created this though. I've been able to manifest living the life that I want to live. And I'm here. I'm learning Spanish. I'm learning another culture, and just really soaking it all in, and just super happy that I made this decision.
So what kind of systems have you had to put in place that help you to go virtual? And before I tell you that, like, I want you to also talk about some of the things but you've been virtual even when you were in California, right? Mm-hmm. You were still virtual. Yeah, because for me, we did have 7 offices here locally, and then we condensed to 1 corporate office. But then everyone else that we work with is virtual. So all the new locations we have. But every day I'm reminded of what a headache having this office produces for us. I mean, the other day that something went wrong with the plumbing. The other day, we had to get the roof fixed. Something was wrong. Just today we had fights with this person saying they want to have this office instead of this office. I mean, just all kinds of additional things that you don't think about that just bog your time down instead of being virtual.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have problems. I mean, every business, it's like, there's always some crazy thing that happens almost on a daily basis. So it never ceases to amaze me. So, we still have issues as a virtual company. Like, for instance, I just I just found out 2 of my employees in our fulfillment center were stealing. And we also found out it's a husband and wife team. The husband wasn't even coming to work. He was just letting his wife do all the work. And so I just showed up unannounced and I'm like, surprise, this is all over. And I had to train, I had a friend of mine I hired and had to train them for about 2.5 weeks. So, working remotely can have its issues where if you're not overseeing people, they can be, reporting their working hours that they aren't. And, we have certain, now what I'm doing, I'm putting cameras in the office so I can have visibility on what's going on. And I've had to institute certain things where, we have regular meetings with all of our staff. We just have it on the books, regular meetings, checking in on problems and, trying to solve all of our employees' problems, we employ a lot of software. We try to automate everything as much as we can. We use Slack. Slack is a godsend. Slack is absolutely amazing to communicate. We have about 20 kind of employees. Some are employees, some are contractors full-time. And then we have about 10 peripheral contractors that we work with. So, all of Slack in one place. So you're not all over the place with texting and emails. That's just like a mess. So Slack has really has revolutionized our business and made it a lot easier to communicate and troubleshoot issues. And
let's talk about Slack for a second, because we have kind of gone back and forth on Slack, and we're like, yes, we're going to do it. And then for me, it's always been like, it's not like you can get rid of email. So it's like we still have email. So to me, it was like one more thing that I still had to check and to do. And so I was like, forget it. Let's just go back. I actually am the kind of bottleneck on that, because we've had a couple of people who are like, let's move to Slack. Let's move to Slack.
And I couldn't live without Slack. Oh, really? I could not live without it. No.
So because you can search. How you use it.
Yeah, because you can search, like if you're like, I can't tell you how many times I've had to search for a conversation or search for something. And it's much easier to do that in Slack than over email, because there could be so many emails. And then you can also leave voice messages on Slack. So it replaces like WhatsApp. And then you can also put videos we'll record meetings that we have and just load them up to Slack. They load up like that. You can load documents. You can pin the documents to certain channels or projects. So like, it's just, for me, it just makes it very streamlined. And there's hundreds of apps that you can incorporate into Slack to make it just, workable for you. Like we have some project management software called Jira that we have implemented into Slack also. So it really is, you can automate a lot of things. It's much more than what it appears on the surface, So yeah, you can't get away from email because people are emailing you all the time. You have to, CC people on different things that come into the email. But for all of our other communications, we keep everything else on Slack.
So let's talk about other technology. What is some technology that you currently use that you would say, I can't live without this?
Yes. So, we use Dashlane Password Manager. That is, again, indispensable. You have to have password managers, and we can share passwords with other employees, and we can share them where the person that's using that password can't see the actual password.
So we use LastPass for that.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Similar thing. And then I like Evernote for taking notes. I can search my notes. So I looked yesterday, I have 1,100 notes of different things that I've written. I've used it for years, and you can have it on your phone and your desktop, and the notes kind of saved to each one. And so that, for me, I can search my notes. I take notes on all the meetings that I have, and it's just indispensable. So we just use a lot of things that, keep me very organized, and, so the whole team is kind of synchronized, and, it just makes things a lot more organized and easier to function.
So let's talk about kind of the two things maybe that you've implemented this year that have been game changers for your business. If you say, we implemented this process to combat this problem, and this was why, like quickly explain the problem, and then you implemented this to kind of fix it. What would that be for you?
Yeah, well, we hired an affiliate manager. So we saw a lot of products and programs and things like that. And so we find other influencers to email for those. And so we finally decided to hire a full-time affiliate manager that can take care of all that stuff and go out and find new people to email for us. And, so that we're kind of growing beyond our own email list. Well, I also hired a YouTube consultant as well that helped to completely optimize our YouTube channel and made it so that people can actually find our videos that, you spend a lot of time and energy. And
who was it that did that for you? Can you share?
Yeah, Liz Germain. And she's pretty well known in the YouTube community. And so she just went in and just, changed our whole channel and just changed all the descriptions and found little ways to, optimize people being able to search and find those videos, optimizing like an opt-in so we can get people's emails and then further, market to them. And so it's just been amazing. So it takes a little while to get ramped up with that, but we're hoping to grow our channel to like 100,000 people by the end of the year. And we just had to fix a lot of things. So.
Awesome. Anything else that has kind of changed your business this year?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, getting rid of people that are not in alignment with your company and your energy or your values or whatnot. For me, we hired this husband and wife team in our fulfillment center. And we felt like my business partner knew them for 10 years and thought he was really good friends with them. And then they go and they just did not care at all. And we had so many problems and so many support tickets, unhappy customers, people not getting refunded, just so many red flags, and that we ignored. When you see one rat, there's 1,000 more that you don't see. And so you have to pay attention to the early warning signs, those red flags, when your intuition is saying there's something just really not right here. And so, and I just, sometimes you feel like you just don't have the time or the energy to deal with something. And for me, I just had so much going on. I didn't want to deal with it. I didn't want to think about hiring someone new and then having to train them. But, when I went in there and finally did it, it wasn't really that hard at all. I was just, and it cost me so much more money. I mean, we estimate these people cost us at least $200,000 in lost revenue, lost customers, overpaying for shipping and all these things that they were hired to do that they didn't fix. And they didn't care about, doing things correctly and shipping things correctly. So, I wish I had just gone in and supervised them or just showed up and just worked with them and see what they were doing. And it's one of the problems with working remotely is that you don't always have visibility on things, but now we're going to have cameras. I am going to show up on occasion unannounced and just see, sit there in the office for a few days and see what's going on. And we're not going to allow people anymore to just work without any kind of oversight or supervision because it's just asking for trouble.
So that's a good point. Let's just talk about, so let's say that somebody is virtual. What would you say is like the right amount of check-ins? Like, is it like a daily huddle? Is it commitment meetings? What is it? What are the processes that you have in place of like standard meetings, standard accountability to make sure that people truly are just working instead of, at home doing their laundry, cooking dinner, who knows what else? Because there are some downsides too.
Yeah, there are, and so we, on Slack, if you're using Slack, you can see if people are on Slack or not. So you can see if they're at their desk, there's like a little green light that will show that they have Slack open and they're working, There's also something called T-sheets that we use. People have to, it's like like a virtual time clock where they clock in and clock out. That has its problems too, because people can clock in from anywhere, or clock out from anywhere. But we also have weekly meetings. So all of the staff, at some point we have a conversation with them once a week. And so we just have set that up so we can, determine what needs to be done, problems that need to be solved, give them some tasks they need to do. And the next week we revisit that. Was this done? Or give deadlines for when things need to be done. So doing that weekly check-in really helps people keep people accountable and keep, your pulse on what's going on.
That T-Sheets, isn't it by QuickBooks? Isn't it? Is that who makes it, I think?
I think so. I'm not totally sure.
Mm-hmm. So what were you saying is the good part and bad part of that?
Well, the good part is they can check in and you can see, when they checked in and when they checked out, and they kind of have to log what they're doing. Every hour they have to write down what it is that they're doing. But then, if you're not checking that's kind of useless. And then they can also, log in from their cell phone or log out from their cell phone, no matter where they are. So it's really almost like they're still overseeing themselves. On Upwork, if you hire people on Upwork, you can pay your employees through Upwork, and that's constantly to get paid. They have to be logged into Upwork, and you actually can see screenshots of all of their work every 15 minutes or something. But then you have to pay Upwork a little percentage. It's usually like $1 an hour, but that could be something that gives you peace of mind, and you can see what is on people's computers every hour. That's another option.
A great idea. I love it. Well, this has been amazing. Tell listeners where they can find you and where they can follow you.
Yes. Well, you can find me. My businesses are myersdetox.com and harmonypendant.com. And I have my own podcast. It's the Myers Detox Podcast. As my business, we focus on heavy metal and chemical detoxification. And we also focus on bioenergetics as well, using energy medicine to heal the body. I believe it's the future of medicine. So we have a lot of programs around that. And I also have a stress reduction pendant called the Harmony Pendant. And this is kind of it right there. And those are my businesses. And that's where you can find me. And youtube.com/Wendy Myers.
Awesome. Well, you guys stay tuned. We've got another episode coming up in just a few. Bye-bye for now.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Real Life Leadership. If you'd like to get the show notes or access more resources, log on to reallifeleaders.com/podcast to get the show notes from this episode and any other resources we might have mentioned. And also, we'd love to hear from you. Be sure to review or rate this podcast on Apple Podcasts to help spread the word. And if you have any leadership questions you want answered, email podcast@reallifeleaders.com.